peace and hope and built upon the old. No one has the answer to give away or sell. Tomorrow holds the secret that only time will tell.
We sold 350 tickets. We had a guest list of 25 because Wyrd War does events and we should have lots of folks. And then the theater has 10 comps, so we have damn close to 400 people in the theater tonight. There's literally
20th Century Fox. They never released the soundtrack in any form, and the title theme, the end credits theme, "Time Will Tell," they didn't even drop it in the hat to be nominated as Song of the Year with the Oscars. So this movie kind of never had a chance to really be respected in the film industry. So tonight for me is like the underground version of the Oscar award for Best Song of the Year. 40 years later than it should have happened, Time Will Tell is the most beautiful ballad I've ever heard in an animated feature-length film about Nazism and fascism. It's a fucking great song. And the man who wrote that song is here tonight, and I want to introduce him to the stage. So please put your hands together for soundtrack composer Andrew Belling.
Every one of you for coming out tonight and seeing this movie again after 40 years. You have no idea the amount of joy, and it's really absolutely silly, that I feel that something that I did 40 years ago still makes people happy today. And thank you, honestly, thank you. So, somebody asked me once, do you have any regrets about Wizards, about the score that you did for Wizards? And I said, no, I really don't. The only regret I do have is the number of times I went to meetings in Ralph's office and left there, walking past all the animators' desks and the garbage cans next to them with these cells of films. And my big regret is that I never took some. I would never have to worry again. But it was fun. It was crazy, and doing the score to an animated picture. There's so many wonderful guys doing it these days. Michael Giacchino and so lots of people. It's very tricky. Back in the 70s, it was even crazier because we were working with pencil tests, so we didn't have the final animation until I started actually scoring the film, and I wrote to the pencil tests. And a lot of times, the cells that we would get, once the cells were in there, the timings were completely different. So it was a challenge. And most of this stuff is electronic. We were using brand new synthesizers that were right out of the crate from Japan. Stuff that I'd never heard before, that I just had to imagine in my head. And I worked with a wonderful man named Clark Spangler, who understood this stuff and was the head man for Yamaha in the United States, and would interpret things. He'd say, like, what kind of sound do you want now? And I go, I need a and he'd take a punch card and stick it in the machine. Or he had one of these like phone PBX things that you plug things into different holes and so on, right? He'd do this and keep going. Is this good? No, it needs to be a little bit more. Okay, wait, hang on. How's this? Yeah, that's perfect. So it was crazy. And all the while I was doing this, Ralph Bakshi was standing there. What are you doing to my film? But thank God, the gods were with us, and fortunately it worked out.
So you had told me that the reason this became a synthesizer soundtrack was because you had no budget. Is there anything you would have done differently if you had unlimited Star Wars budget?
Yeah, I would have used the London Symphony. Right? I did a film score about 10 years later called Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin. It was the first feature. Wow.
Woo!
You heard of it?
Yeah.
Coming soon to Hollywood Theater.
My God, the producer that hired me for that film said, we wanted John Williams, but we couldn't afford him, so we had you. But we'll give you the London Symphony Orchestra. Yes! Yes! No, actually, after I saw this film, I realized it needed to be something about as different as it could be. I mean, it wasn't a typical Disney cartoon, right?
Yeah.
So it needed some different kind of sounds to it, and fortunately, I was smart enough to align myself with people that understood the beginning, the cutting edge of synthesizers in 1975, 76, that area. And I was a very lucky man. I've been a very lucky guy with this film all the way through. Again, I'm very lucky that you guys are here tonight, and again, it blows me away.
Somebody, actually, I get asked this a lot, but somebody asked me tonight, are there other soundtracks that Andy has done that I would know? And I said, probably not. But if you watch adult films from the 70s, Andy, some of Andy's finest work, actually, is in could you talk about your other soundtracks?
In the early 80s, there was a trend in Hollywood to do X-rated film musicals. And I got a call one day, we're doing Cinderella. Oh, cool.
Oh, no way, really?
X-rated.
Cinderella 2000.
Even cooler.
Okay. I wound up writing with my lyricist partner a fairly funny soundtrack for this strange Cinderella X-rated film. And it wound up doing relatively good business for the producer. So about 7 or 8 months after it was released, he came to me going, we're going to do another X-rated film musical. We'd like you to do it. And I thought, well, I'll have 2 film musicals to my credit. It's not Singing in the Rain, but it ain't bad.
Any questions for Andy before we wrap up? And he's going to set up here, and he wants to meet you all. He wants to sign your record. Did you all get a record tonight? How many of you got a record? Thank you so much, Portland. Hold those records up. Thank you so much. So, I have to say, those of you who have ever interacted with Ralph Bakshi, he's like a notoriously curmudgeon. He's really strongly opinionated, and he still is. He's 79 years old, and he's still very strongly opinionated. And when I interviewed him to do the liner notes to the record, he wouldn't stop raving about Andy Belling. And you can read it in the liner notes, but basically his message to you all was, I hired the right guy, and that's what made the movie and the soundtrack.
Woo!
Anybody else got a question? I can't really see, but anybody else got a question for Andy before we? Yeah, where? Go ahead, shout it out. I can't see.
So there's a lot of classical and funk elements to the soundtrack. I was wondering how much of that was decided before the synthesizers came into play, or how much did the synthesizers impact that strange, unique style?
Thank you, that's a great question. I wrote the entire score before I even walked in the studio and started playing these funny electronic keyboards. So the score itself was written. I knew what I wanted some of the sequences to be. I knew I wanted to have some real instruments in it. So there's like about 7 or 8 guys playing trumpet or flute and drums, and a great guy named Gil Rogers playing electric guitar, doing all the stuff that we now call cheesy. the waka wakas and all that kind of stuff. But it was, yes, I wanted there to be a mix of things. Also because I didn't know just what those electronic keyboards could do. And every day, I think I was in the studio for 10 days, 8 or 12 hours a day doing this score, putting it down to film. Literally playing it to picture sometimes, like back in the old days when they had the organists play for silent films. And it was amazing, but it was a learning process. And there would be times when I would think, I really need to, oh, please God, I want a real drum, or I want a real guitar, or a real something in here, just to kind of break up the electronic meow things. So it was kind of the process happened at the same time, in answer to your question. Very challenge to do. I also should mention something else. 1977, the year this film was released, 1977 was a very good year for me, because that's the year that my life partner was born. And he is here with me tonight.
So who has to leave early tomorrow so he can DJ Pride Fest in San Diego, for fuck's sake. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Andrew.
There must be a light leading us together through the misty night, and maybe in the new dawn we can break the spell. It may be tomorrow, but only time will tell. To give away all the